In the quiet hills of Bethlehem, a young boy named David tended his father's sheep. He was the youngest of 8 sons, often overlooked by his family. Yet, even as a child, David had a heart full of faith and courage. He spent his days in the fields, singing psalms to God and learning to protect the flock. With just a sling and a stone, he fought off lions and bears without fear. Though small in stature, David's soul was mighty, filled with trust in the Lord. While others saw a shepherd boy, God saw a future king. David's humble beginnings were the foundation for something extraordinary. One day the prophet Samuel was sent to Jesse's house to anoint a new king of Israel. Jesse proudly presented his older sons, strong and tall, thinking one of them would be chosen. But God told Samuel, "Do not look at appearance. I look at the heart." None of the older sons were selected, and Samuel asked if there were any others. Almost as an afterthought, Jesse mentioned his youngest, David, still in the fields. When David arrived, God said, "This is the one, anoint him." Oil was poured on David's head, and though he returned to his sheep, everything changed. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day forward. Even after being anointed, David did not immediately become king. He continued his quiet life as a shepherd, growing in strength and character. But news of his skill as a musician reached King Saul, who was troubled by an evil spirit. David was called to the palace to play the harp and soothe the king's heart. Unknown to many, the future king was now serving the current one. His gentle music calmed Saul, and David gained favor in the royal court. He learned the ways of leadership, not by force, but through service. God was preparing him in silence for a destiny that would change Israel's future. The turning point came when Israel faced a great enemy, the Philistines. Their champion, Goliath, mocked Israel and defied the living God for 40 days. David, sent to bring food to his brothers at the battlefield, heard Goliath's taunts. While others trembled in fear, David's heart burned with righteous anger. "How dare he defy the armies of the living God?" he asked boldly. Rejecting the king's armor, he took only his sling and 5 smooth stones. With unshakable faith, David faced the giant and declared victory in God's name. One stone flew, struck Goliath's head, and the mighty warrior fell, defeated. David's triumph over Goliath made him a national hero overnight. He became a commander in Saul's army, leading with wisdom and success. But Saul's jealousy grew as crowds sang, "David has slain tens of thousands." The king's heart turned dark with envy, and he sought to kill David. David was forced to flee, living in caves and wilderness to save his life. Even as a fugitive, David refused to harm Saul, God's anointed king. He showed mercy and patience, waiting for God's perfect timing. Through trial and suffering, David's character was refined like gold. After years of struggle, Saul died in battle, and David was finally crowned king of Judah. Later, he united all 12 tribes and became king over all Israel. He captured Jerusalem, made it the capital, and brought the Ark of the Covenant there. David ruled with justice, passion, and deep devotion to God. Though he was not without faults, he always repented with a sincere heart. He wrote many of the Psalms, pouring out his soul in worship and honesty. Under his leadership, Israel entered a golden era of unity and strength. From shepherd boy to sovereign ruler, David's journey inspired generations. David's story reminds us that God chooses the humble, not the proud. He uses the unlikely to fulfill his greatest purposes on earth. David's childhood taught him trust. His trials taught him perseverance. His music, courage, and integrity shaped him into a man after God's own heart. He was not perfect, but he was deeply dependent on God's mercy. The boy who once sang to sheep became the king who sang to nations. His life points forward to an even greater king, Jesus, the Son of David. From Bethlehem's pastures came a legacy that would echo into eternity. David's journey began in the fields, far from the eyes of men, but never far from the eyes of God. He was overlooked by others, but chosen by the Almighty. From the harp to the battlefield, every step was part of God's plan. He faced giants, enemies, betrayal, and exile. Yet he never let go of faith. David's life teaches us that greatness is born in humility, that courage flows from trust, not power, that waiting on God is never in vain.